My partners be hard as hell.
Hey everybody, I'm Tia. This is Hulk and Tia Outside. We're here at Art of Noyze with Kenny today. We're going to get into what Kenny does at Art of Noyze and everything you need to know about audio sounds. So Kenny, tell us how you got started.
That's a long story. I'll try and keep it as short as possible. When I was a kid, I grew up around this area. I always been into music, so I wanted a system in my first car. So I went to the local shop and got a price on what I wanted to do, and they were like $1,500. And for a little kid with no money, that was crazy. But I actually had a dad that was like, you can do anything as long as you put your mind to it. So he was like, we can get the equipment, you can put it in yourself. And from there, I had a booming system in my first little car in high school. Everybody wanted me to put theirs in.
What kind of car did you have in high school?
A little Ford Escort.
Oh, we all had Ford.
I had a little Ford Escort. And started putting my friend's stuff in. Then right after high school, went into the Navy. In the Navy, got a real good background in electronics. Did some college, got some college electronics training. And after college, after the Navy, I got out, started working for a lot of different companies. So I was just doing the cardio stuff on the side, one system for my car, for my friends and whatnot. And then 2003 kind of turned it around for me. I started doing the competition stuff. Well, I started in 99. Started doing the competition stuff, but in 2003, that was my year. I went to like over 20 shows, won every show, even won a world championship.
Oh, wow.
So then in 2004, I got sponsored by a company, started doing some things. And then 2005, I got a job at my first shop. And it's been on and popping ever since then. I got good at building boxes, which was always my thing. Doing the installs, doing alarms, doing fabrication, stuff like that. So, and here I am now, just trying to do my own thing. Finally been blessed with this nice little shop, trying to get this together and whatnot. Got the greatest wife in the world, just been married, 7 months now.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And so got started just in my driveway, and now I'm trying to get bigger and better things going.
Question then. Every shop has a name. What's the name of your shop?
Art of Noyze. It's the Art of Noyze. And it just, I don't know, I just came up with that name. I used to like that group back in the day that came out with
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Moments in Love,
Right.
those type guys. So I just did my own little twist on it instead of spelling it Noyze, Noyze, just so that I can get my business license.
So there is an art to noise, though.
Oh yeah,
Good.
that's
You're
the thing.
basically an electrical scientist, too.
Well, they call me the professor.
The professor.
They call me
Okay.
the professor. Mr. Get It Done.
So I remember coming to the garage, the shop.
Oh yeah.
And I remember that one was called the laboratory.
The lab.
The lab.
It's still the lab. That's the lab right there. I just put that up right there. That's the lab. That's where my big thing is building boxes, because I'm a competitor. I'm what's known as a numbers chaser. You got those guys that they want to play their music in the parking lot. I call them the parking lot kings. That's fine, but I'm a numbers chaser. I want to see a higher score on the meter every time. So the lab is where I do my work, and I build my boxes, and
What's the thing called that you test it's called a meter?
it's a SPL meter.
Okay.
They have different ones. One by a company called Term Lab. Audio Control makes one. This other company called SSA makes one, that are really used by a number of people. But yeah, I have my own Term Labs because I test and build and test. So.
You said you're a numbers chaser. Explain what that is.
Well, when you go to the shows, you'll see a lot of people at the shows. I know you know.
Yes.
But, you got the people who play their music in the parking lot. Those are like demo vehicles, and they just want it to be loud and people sit in it and be impressed. I'm one of those guys. Like a drag race guy. They live a quarter mile at a time. I live 5 seconds at a time, because usually you're in the lane and they do what they call a burp, where you just release it full force and you for 3 to 5 seconds to get as loud as you can. And what happens is on the meter you'll get a number, a decibel number. 140 is pretty much a good score to get, but everybody's trying to get 150 class, 160, 170. Right now, the world record is like a 184 or 185. Yeah.
What kind of box would take to
it
make
ain't
a
no box.
180?
If you were to see this vehicle, the windshield looks like something out of the space shuttle.
Oh wow.
It is ridiculous. He's got some ungodly number 12 subs in it, ungodly amount of power, and it's loud. And you can't sit in it. It'll literally make mush of your insides. But
80. God. What's the highest number you've gotten?
Legally, I'm just gonna say, because they have two different classes. They got legal and they got outlaw.
Okay.
Legal is when you have the entire car sealed up and windows closed, doors closed, everything sealed up. The microphone is put in a specific place on the passenger side of the windshield, 12 inches over 4 inches up. That's called a legal location. But they also have outlaw where they put it down in the kick panel, and you can open your door, you can open your windows and stuff like that. Legal, my loudest recorded score basically was last year, 151.8, where I was, I guess you could say I was on the top of the trump car list for most of the year. But then outlaw, probably like a 156 or something like that.
156.
What's the term loud pack? Explain what that means.
Loud packs are the ones they have like these boxes and it has like all of these speakers in it, but they're not bass. They're mostly for the mid-range and the tweeters and stuff, and they are just like ridiculous. It's like a concert outside. Okay. And these guys have it in their cars. I'm talking about.
So is that legal?
No, that's a whole different.
Okay.
That's a whole different segment of the car audio scene. These guys so loud, literally you can be a football field away. You have to walk that far away in order to hold a conversation.
Now, is it clear though? Because you hear a lot of loud music, but all you hear is boom, boom, boom.
When you get up close to, like most of the cars I do are for the ground pounders, the guys that want to be riding down the street and shake everything off. Most of them are clear, once you get over a certain level, you stop thinking about the sound quality. It's beating you up on the inside. But yeah, most of it is clear. Most guys, as long as it's installed properly, it sounds great. Okay. That's the thing. You got to install it properly.
Okay.
So you got the loud pack and the bass head.
Yeah.
What is your specialty?
I'm an SPL nut. I don't like my personal car. It's still pretty much factory. I got an aftermarket head unit, but I got some basic speakers in the factory locations, and that's it. That's what I ride to.
Explain what a head unit is.
The radio, the source, the source unit for all of your music. But like in my competition car though, I have 2 12s in the back with a lot of power on them. So when I move into the lane, I blast it off for about 3 seconds, and that's it for me. And then I pull my car over and I just get out, walk off. Because it won't play music because it's not built to play music. It's built for just getting loud for those 3 to 5 seconds.
Wow.
Just like a drag race car. Wow. You won't drive a drag race car on the street. So it just like my car is not built for just playing music.
So explain to the viewers what SPL means.
SPL is sound pressure level. It's basically how much pressure you can build up in a particular space. So, and how loud it is too. Like most people say a vacuum cleaner is like 130 dB, whereas a gunshot's like 145 or something like that. Space shuttle is 160 or stuff like that. They always talk about all of these things to compare it to. I don't know. I just know the number come on. I'm trying not to get too nerdy on you.
Well,
What?
I mean, the
The
point-
nerdy part is my favorite, but you know, it's just what I like to do.
Okay.
I got hooked. 1999, I got hooked. Went to my first show and had 2 little 10s in this little beat up Volkswagen that I had, and I ended up getting. I think I placed like 3rd, and I was hooked from there. And after that, it was just on and popping.
I can relate to that. That's how I got hooked too.
It's a disease. It's
Yes.
a disease. Like the guy that's supposed to be on his way up here with his Tahoe. I built his Tahoe and we took it to a show. We took it to the championship show, and he competed in the open class, and he got first place in his class. He's hooked now. He's getting another build together with 8 15s in it. And
How many 15s?
8 15s and 48,000 watts.
Wow.
8 15s and 4 12K amplifiers. And it's gonna be ridiculous. The truck that he's in now it's loud. It's more than loud enough to make you uncomfortable.
So how has technology, the changing of technology, impacted what capabilities you're able to do with audio sounds in vehicles now?
That is the greatest question ever. Back in the day, you would get a 1,000-watt amplifier, look like a surfboard, be 45, 46 inches long. You make a 1,000-watt amplifier now, it's only about 4 inches long. And by that big, you can slide it up under the seat. Technology has definitely made it easier on a lot of technicians, but you just got to stay up on it. And it changes daily. You know, this technology will be obsolete tomorrow. But that's the biggest thing is the footprint of the amplifiers that you're using.
What about the shape of a vehicle? Does that give you a better outcome of the sound?
Yes, there are certain vehicles, like especially in the SPL world, there are certain cars that are actually considered illegal. Or they were gonna make them illegal, but then they just put them in their own class, I guess you could say. Like the Honda CRX.
Okay.
The Honda CRX is probably one of the most feared cars on the street in the SPL lane. Yeah, because you can put 112 in a CRX, blast it off, and it'll be louder than most people's 412.
CRX. So,
Yeah, it's a lot of people call them cheetah cars. You know, and then you got those people. You know, you got people who want to do it in an SUV. Those people who want to do trunk cars. Those that do hatchbacks. You know, all kinds of stuff. The shape of the car will make a big difference, especially if it's aerodynamic on the inside. You know, it's rounded over. The Ford Focus, the Ford Focus, the little 2-door hatchback. Now that's a great car. If you're gonna be an SPL compatible.
okay.
If you just want ground pound, any car do. I pride myself in saying I can make any car loud. Wow. As long as you're willing to let me do what I want to do.
So back to
That's the
technology. You know, there's a lot of new things like HDMI ARC. Are those things used in auto sound, or is it just for
That's mostly home audio video stuff. Now they do have some vehicles, some source units that'll have, like Kenwood makes a really nice one. Pioneer makes a really nice one. They have HDMI inputs on it. You can plug your phone into it and you can watch video from your phone on your source unit. One of the big things now is Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now that changed the game, because back in the day, to get a source unit that had navigation on it, it would cost you $800,000-$900,000. Now you can get one for about $350 with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Plug it in, put your Waze on, and it comes up on your screen. You can interact with it just like it's on your phone. That's another thing that technology has done. And so, you know, a lot of people will use that because Android Auto is right there on your phone.
Right.
It's always updated. You don't ever have to worry about the maps on there being obsolete. If you got, you can get a XM subscription. If you got multiple cars with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay on it, it'll come straight through. Okay. You don't actually have to get the antenna anymore and all of that stuff to make it work like you want it to work.
Okay, what about streaming services? So they say Tidal has the best sound in a streaming service? What's your opinion about that? Does it matter?
I'm an Amazon guy.
Okay.
Now, I've used Amazon, Spotify, and I've never used Tidal, so I don't know about Tidal, but Amazon sounds better than Spotify to me.
Really?
And it sounds better than YouTube.
Okay.
So, plus, Amazon doesn't have any commercials, but you also have, that's a subscription you have to pay for with Prime. But for me, that's what works for me. I listen to it all day in here. So the streaming services, yeah, that's fine unless you're trying to do video. They still haven't gotten a wireless streaming for video yet, but if you can do it connected, it works fine.
So I have a super basic question. What speaker is the best speaker? What speaker's better than other speakers?
That's a loaded question because it depends on who you ask. Some people like one particular brand, some people like other particular brands. Some people call this garbage, that garbage. Me personally, I feel like there's no garbage. Each thing has its own specific purpose. And it depends on what you're trying to do with it. Like with me, I'm a competitor. So I want big and bad. For those people, which were most of my customers, they just want something a little bit better than factory. They don't have to spend as much money. So the big boy companies right now, especially in the competition scene, are, people like Sundown Audio, Scar Audio, DC Audio, Crescendo. I mean, it goes on and on. Digital Designs. All of that stuff is really expensive. They have some entry level stuff, but even at what they consider entry level, it's still a nice little ticket on it. The true entry level stuff is like Audio Pipe. I do like DB Drive. Now DB Drive has a well-rounded list of equipment. They go from like very inexpensive to super expensive. I guess you could say, who else? A lot of people like the super entry level, super budget, Boss, Pyramid's gone. Boss, SSL, Planet Audio, Jensen, those type of people. That stuff is considered like budget. Like, they call it the flea market stuff or whatever. But I think if it's installed properly, and depending on what the person's expectation is, there is no junk, there is no better. It's what's best for you. If you want a high-end system that, even playing at the lowest level, you can still hear a pin drop, you're gonna have to go with some high-end stuff. And that's the sound quality side of it. You got JL Audio, you got, who else? Matt's Audio makes some really good sound quality stuff. Arc Audio, and then you can get up into the Rainbow. There's so many different McLaren. There's so many different names. It just depends on what your purpose with building a system is and what your budget is.
Got it.
Budget really makes a big difference.
So I got $3.
So
Yeah.
Joke.
So what is your favorite speaker when it comes to high end and low end? If you're building it for yourself and you got the high end.
Well, see, that's my niche. And a lot of people tell me I'm a cheater because I'll take what a lot of people, Audio Pipe, for example, the industry joke behind their name is Audio Poop. But I get accused of cheating because I'll take Audio Poop and I'll put up numbers that you would think I'm using a much more expensive equipment. I have to say that my preferred brand is DB Drive. But that's I'm biased because in 2003 I won a world championship and I used DB Drive subs. So I'm a little biased when it comes to that, but they make a good sub. The new build that I'm doing now, it's gonna have DB Drive subs in it, but it's gonna be kind of a mutt system. DB Drive subs, Teramps amplifiers, Orion amplifiers, Pioneer radios, PRV speakers. So that's my new build. But high end, I don't really have a high end. If I wasn't so frugal, I'd probably have all digital design subs and amplifiers because to me they're kind of I've been scared of those guys. If I go to a competition, the guy got in my class got digital designs, I'm almost thinking I'm gonna lose that one. I'm like, okay, second place.
So how much is digital drive then?
Digital designs makes a 12. Their DD95 12 supercharged. It's like over $1,000 for 112. You know, and I personally, because I got kids and I got responsibilities and stuff like that, my maximum on a sub is about 4. So I really have to be able to do the math, get the box right, get it tuned right, have my system together so that I can compete with those guys that buy $1,000 subs like Digital Designs, Sundown Audio, and those type of guys. Because I'm not spending $800 on a sub.
So does the head unit matter?
Yes.
So, you know, we got you talking about the type of speakers that you prefer, high end, low end. What about the head unit?
The head unit does play a point in the sound quality. Because
Okay.
if you got at your amplifier, if you got garbage going in, you have garbage coming out. So you want a nice head unit. That's why I say spend your money. You can put Boss amplifier. If you're just want some nice clean sound, put your money in your head unit and your speakers. That's the number one place to put your money, because if you got a clean signal going into even the cheapest amplifier, as long as you can keep the signal clean, the sound coming out is going to be clean. So you can put Pioneer head unit, and I'll even say Pioneer speakers, even Pioneer interior speakers. Even if you're using Boss amplifiers, most people wouldn't know the difference between a Boss amplifier and a Alpine amplifier, because they're just not into it. Now, if you got those guys like there is another side of the music scene called the sound quality guys. Those guys, they know imaging and everything. It's the imaging, positioning of the music. You're sitting in your car and you just listen to them. You feel like you've been wrapped up in a nice warm blanket.
You can hear sounds.
Yeah, you can hear everything.
Right.
Now, those are the guys that really, really, really get into it deeper. There's a lot of science and math that goes behind the SPL part, but those SQ guys, man, they are off the chain. I don't have it. I don't have the patience for it.
Wow.
I could probably do it,
Uh-huh.
because it's what I do.
So I know folks who swear by the amps. They think the amps is what gives everything. So you explained that it's the head that gives you the quality. So where does the amp fit in there?
Well, just like I said, you can't start with garbage and you can't end with garbage. I mean, a lot of people call particular brand names garbage or junk or whatever, but you gotta think about it. Somebody a lot smarter than me and those people that always have their opinions design this stuff.
Right.
And they do a lot of research and development, and a lot of it is just overlapping. Like, you can find one brand that'll have a particular circuit board in it, and then you'll find 4 or 5 other brands that have that same board in it, just different components, different quality components. So I don't think anything is garbage. You just gotta know what you're working with. If you got an amplifier that says 3,000 watts on it, it'll cost $150. Really? Okay, so, but if you got a 3,000 watt amp, like I have a 3,000 watt amplifier that's going in my next bill. The amplifier retails for like $700. So, you gotta think about what you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, now the amplifier will make a difference. Like, you got what they're calling full bridge amplifiers right now. They're real small. They have very, very, very small footprint compared to what their power output is. Like, you have normal, what they call Korean or Chinese Class D amplifiers. They're gonna be big. They're big and they're power hungry. But power hungry is the wrong word to say, because to make power, you gotta give it juice. So, but you got the full bridge, which is a smaller amplifier. You got 5,000 watt amplifier this big, but an equivalent Korean Chinese bill, 5K, will be this big. Be about 28 inches long, versus I think like a Teramps 5K will be, I think it's roughly about 14 inches long, about half the size in a lot of cases.
Price for the
And they're less expensive.
Okay.
But would I run that amplifier in a sound quality setup? No. I wouldn't even run a Class D in a sound quality setup. You would only run. They have different classification of amplifiers: Class A, Class B, Class AB, Class C, Class D. And a lot of people thought D stood for digital. No, it's just the next letter after C. So it's basically it's how the power supply and the amplifier works. But Class D, a lot of people would also call it Class Dirty, because they're not as clean as a Class AB amplifier. Class A is the cleanest.
Okay,
Class
that's what I was gonna
AB,
ask you.
but they're very inefficient. So,
What do you mean by inefficient?
like you'll take, there's a formula that you use to determine if I got 12 volts coming in or 14 volts coming in, and I only have, a certain amount of power coming out. It's the amount of current times the power times the voltage, and you get the power at a certain ohm level. Depending on how that works out, 100% would be like the greatest thing in the world, but the efficiency usually on a Class D amplifier runs about 80% is a good number, but on a Class AB amplifier it might be 40%. So that means it's not giving you as much power back as it's pulling in. So you might be getting 1,000 watts in, but you only get 400 watts out. But it's super clean though.
It sounds like trigonometry.
Yeah, that's.
There's a lot of math in it.
The numbers, the math.
The math
It's
is
so
crazy.
hard to be able to keep up with.
The math
all
is
of
crazy.
that.
I had a guy come and tell me, he said, hey, I want to learn how to build boxes. Can you teach me? Hey, no problem. You just have to shadow me. He watched me building a box last week. And he's like, you know what, never mind. Because the math it can be overwhelming.
So building a box isn't just about the framework,
The specs, yeah.
the specs of the box.
That's a big part of it. The box is there to control the sub. It's what I've always been taught by some guys that I consider a lot smarter than me, build systems that are a lot louder than I've ever even thought about building. So you got to get that part right. You got to get the airflow moving properly.
Okay.
It's about making that air move properly and controlling that sub. And if you don't do that, you're going to end up tearing up the sub. You're going to end up with what we call muddy sound. It just sounds like garbage. I know you've heard some of those cars, and
Yes.
they loud as all out those, but it's one of those. But it just,
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you get those people you get those boxes where they're super efficient at a particular frequency or a very small bandwidth, which means they only play from like 40 hertz to 45 hertz. So it sounds like your car is just, at a particular song, it'll sound like your car is just going crazy and it sound like somebody cut your amp off. Usually what happens is it's a big box, big port, tune, and it's really efficient in that little mini bandwidth, but it doesn't have a full bandwidth, so you can't play everything on it. But I do a lot of math. I listen to a lot of music. I do a lot of measuring in cars, and there's just a lot that goes along with it, especially when you're talking about the SPL part, because that's where I base everything from. Then I try and make it pretty, so
Got it.
somebody look at it.
So I've been in different competitions, and I've seen what they call bass walls, or walls full of nothing but speakers.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between box amp, box subs, and a wall?
Well, the wall, really the biggest advantage of a wall is you're cutting off the majority of the vehicle. So you're not trying to pressurize all of the vehicles. Say like you got a Suburban. The Suburban on the inside is probably about 12 to 14 feet long on the inside. Mm-hmm. So if you got two 15s in that, and you put them all the way in the back in the cargo area, you're trying to pressurize all of that cabin space with two 15s. Okay. It'll sound good.
Right.
Should sound just fine, but it's not going to put up a good score it'll put up a good score for what it is. But you take those same two 15s and put them at the B pillar and just wall it off. Now all you got is the two front seats, that little front cabin area, and you're trying to pressurize that. If you're going to do that, your number should be a lot higher than what, if all things are equal, same amp, same subs, box all the way in the back or a wall. your number should go. You should gain at least 3 to 6 dB, at least, and that's a big difference.
Wow.
That's a big difference in sound.
So building the wall, is it harder?
The math is a little tricky. It's tricky because you can't just put in a no wall situation. You're dealing with what's called a transfer function. It's basically what frequency works is the easiest to mature inside that cabin. In a wall, you've sealed it off. So now all you have is the front cabin, and then you have to compensate for what the box is breathing into, and it's a totally different build process for me. I've only built a few walls, and they came out okay.
Cool. So I've noticed that I've been to enough car shows. I see people in their cars. They have their music firing into the car versus into the trunk, and then I see people who swear that blowing into the trunk is better than blowing into the car. Which one's better in your eyes?
It's the same, almost the same thing. They call it a trunk wall. Like in my car, I have what's called a trunk wall set up, where I have the box pushed all the way forward behind the seat, and then I sealed it off. So that's considered a trunk wall. The difference is it's going to give you a different sound, because with bass, in order to get a good sound, the wave of a bass, the frequency wave, is really long. So it needs to mature at least at a quarter of that in order for you to be able to really enjoy it or to take advantage of it in a SPL setup. With the subs firing toward the back, you got more length. So the wave goes this way, goes toward the back of the car, and then comes back. So it'll mature. Longer wave will mature at the quarter wavelength easier. So it'll actually sound better. But if I got less pressure, if I got less cabin to pressurize than you do, you're trying to pressurize your entire trunk, and I'm only trying to pressurize my cabin. It's an advantage in the SPL lane. Sound quality wise, to me, it just depends. It depends on what you're trying to do.
So I'll make sure I hear this right. So firing into the trunk is better for SPL.
To me, sound quality wise, if you got your subs firing toward the back of the car and your trunk is just wide open, to me it tends to sound better, especially at the low end. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take another box, you turn around, seal it off from the front. Inside the car, it's gonna be extremely violent. Everything's gonna tear up the whole 9 yards. Now, the sound quality part of it, though, you need to stand about 10 feet in front of the car, because the wave in order to hear it properly, the wave has to mature. So you need to be out in front of it so that the wave is mature. But
so there's physics involved in this.
There's a lot of science and math involved completely. Like I've done, like in my car, I have 212s, small 2000 watt, what I'm playing with now. Small 212s, small amplifier, but it's sealed off. And when they call it a burst, but when you burst it, my windshield wipers jump, all of my little things fall down, my glove box falls open because it's super violent.
So your sound car is not your best car.
What?
In terms of just what it looks like.
Oh no, that actually looks nice.
It looks good.
Yeah.
But your stuff is falling off.
No, you can't. No, that's like it has like a little thing at the top where you put your sunglasses in, it'll fall open.
Oh yeah.
My glove box will come open, but that's just causing all the vibration.
Okay.
Oh no, it's not gonna fall apart. I've done enough sound deadening on it.
I've seen those other cars at the shows. Yeah. Where the guys are on the outside of the car and they're controlling the sound from the outside, and their stuff is just
because it becomes. You're probably talking 50, 60 mile an hour winds in some of these cars.
Wow. In
some of the big ones, and like I said, the guy whose car is the world's loudest right now, you couldn't sit in that thing. It'll have every orifice bleed. That thing is super violent on the inside. My car. Violent. Right now, where my car is sitting at right now, I'm doing about somewhere between 145 and a 146 with the setup I have now. And that's my baby setup. That's just what I call my points getter. I just go to shows, get points, and so I can qualify for championship because I like being a champion. But and I wouldn't. It only does between a 145 and 146. I couldn't listen to all that all day. But it is super violent. I mean, it will, and it is crazy in that car when I let it go. If I wanted to, if I could, I would stand outside the car. I can actually because I have it on a long cord. But
So how's your hearing?
bass actually doesn't really affect your hearing as much as a lot of people think. It's the mids and highs that piercing. You know, you hear some of these people with cars, they'll be riding down the street, sound like they're frying bacon in their car. That actually is worse for your hearing than anything else because it kills your upper end range.
So our parents were wrong when they told us, turn that down.
No, not exactly wrong. It's just not completely accurate.
Okay.
It's not as good for you as you would want it to be. You know, it's like anything over 140, it need hearing protection because now there are some like IASCA, the International Auto Sound Challenge Association. I think that's what it stands for. IASCA, I forgot that. A competition association. There, if you have what we call a stock vehicle where you're going to be sitting in, everything is in a stock location. If you're going to be sitting in your car to run through the lane, you got to have ear protection if you know your car does over 150.
Wow.
And in some shows, they'll disqualify you. If your car does a 150 and you don't have hearing protection, they'll disqualify you. Most people aren't they don't stick to that rule as much as they used to back in the day because 150 back in the day, like when I started, a 150 was the pinnacle. You know, 150 was the milestone you wanted to reach. So, but 140 was decent. 150 was the pinnacle. If you got the 160 or 170, oh, you were a god.
What about now?
150 is still where you want to be. You know, especially if you got like a street beat car, you want it to be able to play music and still be able to hit a 150. But 160 now is the pinnacle. I would say it's the pinnacle. Because you got a guy doing a 184, 185. That is just unrealistic in my mind. 160 is my next goal. I got a build coming up with 815s. And it's got to do it. If it doesn't do a 160, I'm just going to break it down and start on. But it's going to be, that's going to be my next one. 160 is my goal. I've never done a car that even got close. I built a car that did a 156 once. Legal. I mean, when I say legal, I want it to be a legal 160. I did one that did a 156 legal. That's about the loudest thing I've ever built. But this one is going to be...
What's the craziest looking box you've ever built for someone?
Actually, for the guy that's outside. He has a GMC Sierra 3500 HD. And he had bought some subs for it. And I told him he didn't have enough room for them. He wanted them up under the back seat. So, he's crazy. Good friend of mine.
Let's take a look.
No, he's not. It's not in that truck. He's in his Tahoe, the truck that I did before that one.
Okay.
So what ended up happening was he took and cut his floor out.
Cut the floor out?
He cut the floor out, and it's got like this weird, like shape in the floor. He cut it out to go around the transmission hump. So one section of the floor is like 15 inches deep, and then it comes up and it's flat across the transmission hump. Then it goes down again about another 8 inches. And then comes up. So it's got this big cavern in the floor. Well, he brought it to me and said, is this going to work? So I was like, yeah, okay. So
he's crazier than me.
Yeah. He's a little throwed off.
Yeah.
Good guy though, but he's real throwed off. He got bitten by the bug real bad. The SPL bug bit him real bad. I think he played around with it back in the day a little bit, but he started working, got a family and that type of stuff, so fell off. Now that he's really, really stable and, you know, got everything, now he wants to get back into it. It's actually his truck that I'm building with A15s. Okay. So, but yeah, the box came out, I wish I could show it to you. It looks really, really strange because if with it sitting in the car, you can't even tell. But it goes and then it goes down like that, comes over, goes over, and then does like that. It looks like a pistol.
So you got the pictures in your phone.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll make sure we send them to you so y'all can see it because I'm dying to see this.
Yeah, and it actually sounds really, really good.
So it's no secret that you've done 2 of my boxes, and you're about to work on my 3rd box.
Yeah, with
Is it?
plexiglass window.
Yeah.
Yeah, and lights and
Yeah.
because he's a big show off.
Yeah, he is.
Everybody
He
knows the
is.
show.
We know
off.
that.
Big show.
So my question is, can you build that box without taking up my whole trunk? I want to hit a 150.
Okay.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. He choose.
I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm not. No, that's the whole thing. You want to do a 150, but that's gonna entail you upgrading your electrical system. There's more to it than just boxing subs and amps. You got
exactly.
You gotta give power to make power. So you gotta need a bigger amplifier. Because right now you running the Terrams 5K.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a bigger. Well, you shouldn't need a bigger amplifier, but the box is gonna be a little bit different. It can be done. We just have to play with it.
So,
you know me, just bring it over here.
Cause he always gets on me about.
But you want it pretty.
Pretty. I want it pretty but loud, and pretty and loud don't always go together.
No, they do not.
Pretty and loud don't always go together.
I can build it, make it loud, then make it look decent. But if I start off with my goal being pretty, not promising loud. Not gonna promise loud. Well, it depends on what you consider loud.
Well, I can handle a 145.
What are you doing now?
You know,
42, 43? I don't even think you're in. Yeah, you're in there.
Somewhere. I think 141, 142. I think that's what I.
But see, your biggest drawback is your car.
Yes.
Because you can't change your head unit.
No.
And it is extremely hard to get any.
You can.
You can't change it to an aftermarket.
Yes, you can. I found that they get them online.
Yeah, but it's the more janky Chinese.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it.
It's not Pioneer, Kenwood, or Alpine, or anything like that. So it's hard to get a good, strong, clean signal out of your radio, which is what you need to start off with. The head unit signal is the basis for all of your. Now I can do it. Just gotta leave it with me, and I get it done. That's why they call me Mr. Get It Done.
Okay, Mr. Get It Done.
So, can we see some of your work?
Yeah. A guy. This is something I'm working on right now. It's not even close to finished, and it's got a lot of dust on it. Excuse me. I build boxes in here, so and being that I haven't got my dust collection system up yet, that sawdust goes everywhere. But I have a vehicle that I finished a couple of months ago. He brought it over so you can take a look at it.
Cool. Let's go take a look.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
On each front door, and 2 tweeters and a tweeter here, and then he has 2 tweeters on each 8 pillar that I molded into. Then on the back doors, he has 2 8s and 2 tweeters, and then the amp rack is right here with all of the amplifiers in it, and then in the back. He has 4 12s and a custom box that I built for him. So you built this box? I built that box.
So how long did it take to build a box like this?
From Home Depot to in the car, about 6 hours.
And all the math you got to do to it?
Yeah, I usually do that before I even start cutting the wood. And then up under it, right up, it's sitting on its batteries right there. 390 amp hour AGM batteries up under there. But y'all want to hear it. What you got playing?
So I noticed you got 2 outdoor alternators. Why did you have 2 alternators in there for?
Just like I said before, you got to give power to make power. So he has a 370 amp hour alternator and a 320 amp hour, 20 amp alternator to feed those big batteries that he has in the back. So that, and because he has a 15,000 watt amplifier on his sub.
Wow.
So, like I said, you need power to make power. He has 5 amplifiers, 412s in 412-inch subs. He has 12 8-inch mid-ranges. Then he has 14 tweeters in the car. So to push all of that, you need power. So you need power.
So what kind of batteries does he have back there?
They're by a company called North Star. They're 190 amp hours each. He has 3 of them. But we get ready to change it to some lithium, to some Yinglong LTO cells.
Yeah, you just told me about that. Explain to me what that is.
Well, the lithium, it's a high density cell. And so, like, he has 3 batteries back there that weigh like 140 pounds each.
Okay.
He will get out of maybe an 80 amp hour lithium cell, the more capacity, so his voltage will stay stable better. It'll actually sit higher, and he'll get more power out of his amplifier. And these things are only about as big around as like a can of beer.
Oh, okay.
They're about the size of a 12-ounce can of beer, but the chemistry behind them is so advanced. He'll have about 8 of them in here, may weigh about 25 pounds versus the 420 pounds of batteries that he got.
Wow.
So he just take those out, put those in there, it'll be a lot smaller footprint, and you'll actually get better performance out of those.
Wow. And 2 alternators to keep it all running.
Yep. Because you gotta put the current in. They generate the current that you need to make power.
Wow. Dope. So, is it possible we can hear it?
Oh yeah.
Ski mask on my face. Sometimes you gotta cheat to stay ahead in this picture. Drink surf like it's liquor. Street life, I have you catching up to God quicker. Sticker, AK-40 to your lipper. Let the chopper bang on you like a blood or a gripper. Flipper, so much bread, I'm a gymnast. Made so much money off the dummies, Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah. Scream, bro.
I'm Mr. Body Catcher, Slaughter Gang Soul Snatcher. Ain't no regular F-150, this a fucking rapper. No capper, street nigga, not a rapper. Chopper hit him and he turned into a booty clapper. Smith & Wesson, a 4L gang reppin'. We done baptized more niggas than a damn reverend. Kappa Alpha, me and my gang, we do all the steppin'. Who you checkin'? This bitch, Smith & Wesson.
So, Kenny, if somebody want to come and get a box from, what's the turnaround time?
Well, turnaround time on boxes, I usually ask for like 10 days, but there is a expedited fee if you want to pay it. But I don't just do boxes, I do alarms, I do all installs, backup cameras, customized fabrication doors, A-pillars, whatever you need done in your car. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm Art of Noyze Hester on Facebook, and also my phone number is 404-492-3035. Just give me a call and I'll get it done for you.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, we got quite a few viewers that would definitely want to reach out to you. Could you offer a promo code for our viewers if they reached out to you and said that we were referred by the Atlanta podcast? So the promo code is going to be Art of Noyze ACC. So anyone reaching out to Kenny to get their work done, don't forget to use the promo code Art of Noyze ACC.
You get the ACC discount.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Okay.
So if they bring their car and they have to leave it here, is it going to be secure?
Yes, my building is surrounded by an 8-foot tall fence. Or is it 6 foot? 8-foot tall fence. And I can also put up to about 4 vehicles in my bay. I got 1,000 square feet, so it's a small shop, but I can still get multiple cars in there.
Wow, great, awesome. So it was so good being here and listening to your work and realizing that you are a nerd.
I'm a nerd. Thank you. Thank you.
And the next time we come, I'm gonna bring me a calculator, a laptop, so I can understand what the hell you were saying.
I'm a nerd, so I really.
Hey, it's the best thing in the world to be.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Hulk and Tia outside, and we're here with Kenny at Art of Noyze. Come see him.
And make sure you use that promo code when you come. It's Art of Noyze ACC.
That's right.